I hit the wrong button. I hit the wrong button. Whatever. We're gonna roll with it. Roll with it. I apologize for that mess up. I definitely apologize for that mess up. But what's going on, everybody? Welcome back into TTP Sports. We are doing something a little bit different tonight. Yes, Phillies game literally just ended. Probably not going to talk about Phillies much over the course because obviously I won't be around this week. I am going on vacation starting on Monday. So whatever happens with the Phillies happens with the Phillies. Their magic number for the bye week's down to 3, and then granted whatever happens with the Dodgers and what they're doing, it'll just keep going down. So not overly concerned, not overly worried about that. These games, in my opinion, really don't matter to me. But I wanted to do something a little bit different tonight. Over the course of the past couple of weeks, during some of these streams, we've been talking about wrestling, WWE, just thoughts and opinions on all that stuff. And I just figured after tonight, after what they were trying to advertise, what they were trying to claim was going to be a big night with Wrestlepalooza and all that stuff, granted being the first PLE on ESPN, I really wanted to get my thoughts out there, and maybe this is something we'll fully do into the future. Maybe this will be something like, just have a talk, have a chat after every PLE or something like that. Maybe that's what we'll roll with in the future or something like that. Just playing it by ear, see how the people react, see how people come in. So that's how we're going to roll with. I think today could be a good, nice, long discussion on the overall thoughts of Wrestlepalooza, just the overall thoughts of the state of WWE right now, because it's definitely a very mixed bag. It 100% is a very mixed bag. So we'll see how this plays out with the PLE talk, see how you guys like it. I know some of you guys in the chat here and out when we talk about wrestling, you tend to enjoy it, so maybe we get those people in here. We get a few more people in here that are definitely new to the channel, and we'll see how it grows. There's definitely a lot of people viewing it right now, or a good amount of people viewing it right now. They got a lot of likes here, so if we get a couple of new people in here, that'll be very good. And if you are new to the channel, I definitely recommend you do hitting that subscribe button, because like I said, maybe we'll bring this more into the future, talking about PLEs and all that stuff, or maybe just on a random off day when Philadelphia sports aren't happening or there's no news in Philadelphia sports. We could just sit down and shoot the crap about WWE. So, how do I overall feel about tonight's PLE? The PLE itself was fine. There were definitely a lot of high moments. There were some very low moments, no doubt. Obviously, the biggest low moment of the entire night was Brock versus John Cena, and we'll get into a long discussion about that match, because that's just a lot of negativity towards that, and not a lot of good opinions towards that. But like the overall, I guess, experience of tonight's PLE, like I said, it's a fine PLE, but considering the fact that the way that they built this up, or at least tried to build it up advertising-wise, it being the first PLE on ESPN, and they're trying to like, oh, we're making this a big thing, trying to, make it big comparable to WrestleMania or SummerSlam or something like that. For that being the first PLE on ESPN, for this big transfer and all that stuff to this new platform for the United States, which is still very controversial, might I add, it's fine, but still, for the price of admission for people watching it at home and for everything else, that's not worth that. Tonight's PLE was not worth that price of admission, in my personal opinion. And I feel like a lot of people have that same opinion, because granted, a lot of people, if they are doing this, they're paying the $30 for the ESPN Ultimate or Unlimited, whatever the fuck it's called, to even watch this PLE tonight, and for future PLEs now going forward over the course of how many more years this contract is under that just started. 100% not worth the price of admission. And granted, some people do have the benefit of getting it through their cable providers, whether it's Fios, whether it's, I believe, DirecTV or something like that. Fubo TV has it, and a few other things do have it, but there's also some other providers that don't carry this thing for some reason, which doesn't make sense. Xfinity does not make sense why they don't have it, because the way that Comcast owns a lot of things right now in America, that just doesn't make sense why Comcast doesn't have it. YouTube TV does not have it for some reason, so there's definitely people that I hope most people aren't purchasing the $30. Like me and my family, we have Fubo TV, so we do have the benefit of getting the ESPN included with Fubo TV. So there's something to that at least. We have that benefit, but not other people are also benefit. They don't want to switch providers or something like that, which is very understandable. If you are a person that still wants to watch these PLEs, the thing that's probably less expensive and more cost beneficial for you is probably getting a VPN and then just using that VPN to go onto Netflix and watch all the future WWE PLEs, because WWE and all that content in other countries is on Netflix besides the US. So that probably is your best part right there if you don't want to chuck up to $30 a month to watch the ESPN and watch PLEs, which is very understandable because it's 100% a gigantic price hike from what people were doing on Peacock, which is very extreme and it's very stupid in my personal opinion. There's a lot of problems that I have with that. Granted that me and my family do have Fubo, so we do get it included. But if you really think about it, you could probably think about the price of Fubo probably goes up because of the ESPN, maybe of that fact. So maybe if you're including ESPN into all these other streaming bundles, into these cable bundles, maybe the price goes up a little bit. So in hindsight, in a retrospective, you're probably still paying for that ESPN, which is still kind of BS in that fact. And for this to be the first PLE that is shown on this entire new thing, not worth the hype. Not living up to the hype. Like I said, there were some high spots. The Stephanie Vaquer Io Sky world title match, that was probably the best thing of the entire night because that match was awesome. The chemistry those two have in the ring was incredible. Stephanie Vaquer winning clean, which I was not expecting actually, because I was expecting possibly the Kabuki Warriors to come in. I was expecting Stephanie to win, but I was expecting her maybe to not win clean. Maybe, Asuka and something like that. The Kabuki Warriors come in and maybe kind of screw over Io, and that's how Stephanie can find a way to sneak a win in there to where she does get the world title. But I still do like the idea of her winning clean, and maybe something with Io, maybe this Io losing or something like that maybe escalates this thing with her and Asuka even more or something. I'm not entirely sure, even though I do think now Stephanie winning, even though this is probably going to be the most likely outcome regardless if Steph or Io won, was that they're going to fight Rhea at Crown Jewel in Australia. And sadly, I kind of think that's, even though I don't mind Rhea getting the world title back, it just kind of sucks because Crown Jewel is not that far off. We're literally talking about a PLE that's like 2, not even 3 weeks away at this point. I believe they said it's October 11th. And you're most likely going to have Rhea going up against Steph for the world title. And I would assume Rhea gets the world title in her home continent. So because the pop for Rhea there is going to be absolutely insane, I wouldn't be shocked if Rhea gets the title back in Australia. But that would really suck for Steph to where she only has the title for so many weeks. I feel like that would be very bad booking in my personal opinion, because Steph does deserve this push, and it definitely gives a breath of new fresh air to the women's world title scene. It just gives a new threat to that entire thing, having a new person having that belt. That's why it kind of felt good when Naomi had the belt. It just gave something different to that, and it that stuck that she had to give her the belt and all that stuff. But personal life, having a baby and all that stuff, that's more important at the end of the day. But having Steph have the belt and maybe elevating that belt even more and having more people now going after that women's world title belt definitely makes it a lot better. But I do expect most likely Rhea to get that belt at Crown Jewel. I'm not entirely sure. Maybe Steph retains in Australia or something like that. I'm not entirely sure how this goes. Maybe we'll find out on Monday Night Raw tomorrow or something like that. I have no idea. But that definitely was the best highlight of the entire night. Io and Stephanie, they've had a couple of matches so far. This was by far their best. They have so much in-ring chemistry. They just work so well together, and it made for a very entertaining fight. It made for a very entertaining match. That was the best fight of the night. If we go to some of the other stuff, the intergender tag team match with CM Punk, AJ Lee, Seth Rollins, and Becky Lynch, that was entertaining. That was just a fun time. It was good to see Punk and AJ get the win. It was funny in the beginning where Becky was basically trying to avoid getting in the ring with AJ, and then there were definitely some big bumps in there that was, basically, CM Punk trying not to hit Becky, and, the wives going after the husbands. That was, it was just overall a very fun time, and I know people are very tired of the Punk and Seth Rollins feud, but I think that this just added a different layer to it, and it just made it fun, in my personal opinion. So that, I would say those two matches probably were the highlight of the entire night. And then you have also the tag team match with, the Braun Brothers and the Usos and all that stuff, with LA Knight being the special referee. That match overall was good. I expected something different to happen at the end of the match. Jay got busted open pretty badly there. I'm not even sure how he got busted open. I'm not sure if when he hit, I believe it was Braun Breaker or Bronson with the chair, either the chair whacked him back in the face, and that's how he got cut on the top of the forehead. But I kind of was expecting the Braun Brothers to win that match because those two just go in and win everything. I was kind of expecting there to be some type of animosity between either the Uso brothers or something involved with LA Knight, but apparently no, that match just ended very cleanly, so that was something I wasn't expecting. And then I'm saving Brock and John Cena for last because that's the most controversial one of the night. Drew McIntyre versus Cody Rhodes. I mean, it wasn't main event PLE caliber. Does that make sense? It was a main event, but it wasn't PLE main event caliber. Obviously, those two were going to main event because it was going for the undisputed title. But the match itself, just the quality of the match, wasn't fit for a PLE. It was probably more fit for weekly television, the way the match just went. And granted, I also was thinking that Randy was going to get involved in this match at some point, whether that was to screw Drew over or turn heel on Cody, and maybe Drew somehow wins the title. I was expecting Drew to win tonight, but obviously Cody won, and it's another situation where Drew completely screws himself over as he tries to, kick Cody into the announcer's desk once again, but then the ref gets involved. It takes a little too long. Drew tries to go for the Claymore into the desk. Cody gets out of the way. Drew's leg goes through the desk, and obviously he's in pain, and of course, and all of that stuff. And then when he tries to go for the Claymore in the ring, his leg halts. He can't move his leg. He feels a lot of pain there. And then Cody eventually hits the Cody cutter, then hits the Crossroads, and then, pin 1, 2, 3 cleanly right there. I wasn't expecting Cody to win clean that match. I thought the match was going to go pretty much longer, in my personal opinion. Like I said, I thought Randy was going to get involved. And realistically, a lot of the people who I thought were going to get involved tonight did not get involved. I thought something was going to happen once again between Jey Uso and LA Knight. That didn't happen. Well, there was a little bit where it looked like Jey was trying to save LA Knight or something like that from Braun, or it was Braun Breaker hitting the Usos through the table on the corner. So maybe there was something there, or maybe I don't know how they're going to draw that up. But I was expecting either something to go along between Jey and LA Knight. That didn't happen. I was expecting Asuka to get involved and maybe screw you over, even though that match was still very great nonetheless. That didn't happen, and I expected Randy to somehow get involved into the main event match, and he just didn't. And that match ended cleanly, and I was like, wow, that's how they're going to end it. And like I said, I just don't think that main event was PLE main event worthy. It felt like just a regular main event on SmackDown. That's what it felt like. And the way they built this entire PLE up, like I said in the beginning, make it as big as WrestleMania, make it as big as SummerSlam and all that crap. It wasn't. It wasn't. And especially when you're doing the switch to ESPN, forcing people with the high price uptake, with having to pay for the ESPN Unlimited or whatever the fuck it's called, it's not worth the price of admission. You need to give people bang for their buck. And like I said, the PLE itself was fine. It's not worth the $30 of admission to watch the PLE. That's not worth it. You needed way more to happen. And also, there's only 5 matches because they do their standard, you can only have 5, 6 matches on a PLE card. And granted, I believe the women's triple threat match for that Undisputed Championship was supposed to be tonight as well, but Tiffany Stratton wasn't medically cleared, so that's going to be next week on SmackDown, even though I wasn't really thrilled for that triple threat match either, because the women's SmackDown Women's Undisputed Championship, that division needs so much rework done because they have no idea what they want to do with that. Because Tiffany, she literally has nobody else to go up against besides Jade and Nia Jax. Really? She has nobody else to go up against. That's how weak the SmackDown women's division is. Because you have Alexa Bliss and Charlotte tied up with the tag division, constantly going up against Chelsea Green whenever person of Chelsea Green's security wants to fight with her. That's basically that storyline, because the tag team divisions just literally don't exist. You have what's her? Why am I blanking on her name right now? The women's U.S. champion. Why am I blanking on her name? Somebody in the chat, Franco, can you help me out here? What's her name? Why am I blanking on her name? Because, honest to God, it's probably understandable why I'm blanking on her name, because she's barely used, and she barely has fights, and she has nobody to go up against for the goddamn U.S. title to fucking have good matches to even retain the women's goddamn title. It's absolutely crazy. Goddamn, I gotta look this up now. Women's title, WWE, who the hell is it? Who is it? Julia. Like, Julia has nobody to fight. Literally. The SmackDown women's division is fucking awful. The Raw women's division is stacked. Like, the Raw women's division is amazing. How is SmackDown women's division so bad? Because, one, they haven't done a draft to where they can maybe even out the talent between both brands. Even though at this point, the brand split literally doesn't matter. People could just walk on the SmackDown or walk on the Raw whenever the fuck they want at this point. That's the way it's been going right now. For the past few months at this rate. Because everybody was expecting a draft. We were all expecting a draft. It never happened. It probably still will never happen. I'm not entirely sure what the fuck they're going to do at this point, but it's the SmackDown women's division's pitiful at this point, because Tiffany has nobody going up against her, and at this point, Tiffany's title reign is getting very, nobody's interested in it. No one's intrigued in it, because she has, no one's interested in Jade. No one wants Nia Jax involved in this stuff again. It's bad. It's very bad, and like I said, it was supposed to be at Wrestlepalooza, but Tiffany wasn't medically cleared, so it's going to be on next week's SmackDown. So, there's that. But still, going back to what I was originally talking about, Drew, Cody was not PLE main event worthy. It just wasn't it. I'm not saying the match was bad. It just doesn't live up to the hype that you bring up for Wrestlepalooza. What you're trying to bring it up for, and especially with the $30 pay hike that most people have to pay. And granted, I would assume most people are using VPNs, which rightfully people should be using, because I don't want people paying that much money to go and watch this. And I'm not saying it's overly terrible. It's not, it was fine. I'm not saying the whole thing was bad, but it's just it doesn't live up to the hype. It doesn't live up to the pay. It just doesn't. It just doesn't. And everything starts with that first match with Brock and Cena. And this entire thing just didn't make sense going into it. There was no story built into it. You barely get Brock and Cena face to face leading up into this. Brock comes out at SummerSlam. You don't see him for over a month. You barely see Brock on SmackDown. And when Brock is on SmackDown, he's attacking Corey Graves. He's attacking, R-Truth and all that stuff. He's barely in there with Cena. Cena's on Raw. Cena didn't, had his last, the only time Brock and Cena, did something after SummerSlam was when Brock interfered with the U.S. title open challenge with Sami Zayn and John Cena in Chicago. That was the last time. That was basically the only other time those two interacted with each other leading in the Wrestlepalooza. The storytelling was just borderline garbage. Not even borderline garbage, it was garbage. And the way that you just put the match out, I'm not even mad that Cena lost. I'm not mad that Cena lost. It's how he lost. You're going to have Brock just come. Cena had his moments in this match, don't get me wrong. He had a few AAs in there, and he had some moments. But Brock literally just fucking squashed him. How many fucking F5s did he hit him with? 20 billion? 20 billion? What are we even doing? What are we even doing here? Unless you're trying to set something up for War Games, which most likely that is going to be the case, you can at least put a more entertaining match together. But no, that's the deal when you're dealing with fucking Brock Lesnar. Because the dude barely shows up. He's a part-timer. You work on his time. It was controversial even bringing him back in the first place because of the whole lawsuit and all that stuff with Vince McMahon. And, like, I laughed the entire time during the match because that's how bad the match was. I wasn't even... I laughed because of how bad it was. I wasn't really entertained by it. It was like, oh, here's a 5th F5. Here's a 6th F5. Here's a 7th F5. Yeah, the match is over. Cena's not getting out of that. Unless Super Cena just magically formed during that entire thing, Cena was never winning that match. And like I said, I'm not even mad that he lost. At least have Cena put up a fight instead of making him look weak and all that crap. Instead of making him look weak. And then it's when you have, and during this retirement tour, when you have so many little appearances left of John Cena, because at this point, John Cena is only on PLEs remaining on his time left with WWE before he retires. It's the PLEs and then his last Saturday Night Main Event, which is in December, which is not in Boston, by the way. It's now in fucking Washington, D.C., which is also bullshit. That's also TKO getting involved there for more money. When John Cena has so many little appearances left, this is one of his last performances that you're going to give people, is him basically getting squashed by Brock, when John Cena has, like, what, 4 appearances left now? Because I'm assuming he's going to be at Crown Jewel, he's going to be at War Games, he's going to be at that Saturday Night's Main Event. Like, what other appearances does John Cena even have left besides Crown Jewel and War Games and the Saturday Night's Main Event? Does he only have 4 appearances left? I gotta actually see that. Appearances left. Like, how many does he have left? John Cena, so this was posted 4 hours ago. Let's see. So this is from Chris Van Vliet, and this was on a Facebook post. Okay, so he has three events left. He has 3 matches left. 3 appearances left. And this one is how you're going to waste one of his matches. You're going to waste it getting squashed by Brock. He's going to be at Crown Jewel. He's going to be at Survivor Series, and then his final match on Saturday Night's Main Event. That's how you're going to waste it? That's how you're going to waste it. He has 3. Now, it was kind of funny seeing the kids crying in the ring. It was a cool moment, him bringing out all those kids in his entrance. That was a very nice touch. That was very fun. But it was also kind of funny seeing the kids cry in the stands because that was very funny. But still, at least have John put up a fight. At least have it be able to be an entertaining match. Is this entire thing just going to try to lead up is Brock just going to be John Cena's opponent for the last part of his retirement, and John Cena finally gets the win against Brock in his retirement match? Is this what it's going to be? Because that would be very stupid. That would be so bad. That would be horrible. To where you're going to waste the rest of Cena's retirement tour with a goddamn feud against Brock, where Brock's barely going to be there. And John Cena's not going to be there at all. Like, how are you even going to build storylines and all that crap? Which doesn't make sense. Now, if you're trying to build something towards Survivor Series and all that stuff and War Games, it's still, how do you even build that? Because John Cena's not going to be there. The only time he's going to be there is at the PLE itself. He has 3 appearances left. That's why this match even escalates into how bad it was. Because there was no build-up to this match whatsoever. You barely have any interaction between Brock and John. And then you get to match, and then Brock basically squashes him. Squashes him like a little bug. Why? What is that booking? What is that storytelling? There was no storytelling. And like I said, I do think they basically are going to try to build something towards War Games with this entire thing. Whether it's because now Paul Heyman and Brock are connected again at this point, which probably you connect the dots there. The War Game, the Survivor Series teams, it's going to be Team Seth Division and all that stuff versus Team Roman or Team CM Punk, where I would assume Brock joins Seth in the Division on that team, even though it's not going to be Brock joining the Division. He's just going to be on the team as the 5th guy. And then it'll be Roman, Punk, maybe Cody, John Cena, and one of LA Knight or Jey Uso. One of those 2. Which it does, like, I still don't even see how they even get John Cena involved in that, because there's no storytelling to bring there. Like, oh, John's just there. John's just there. Like, oh, don't worry, guys. I called John Cena. I talked to John Cena. He's going to be with us. He's agreed to join the team. Oh, nope, John's going to join us because Brock's on the other side. John's going to help us against Brock. But, oh, yeah, we forgot. John got squashed against Brock at Wrestlepalooza. And are they going to work it towards, oh, John Cena gets his win against Brock at War Games. He gets the pin there to help Team Roman or Team Punk win. Is that going to be the case? Maybe. It's just like you're in a weird spot with WWE right now, because because realistically, I've been very on and off with WWE. This is like really the first full time I've been like watching every week, watching all the PLEs, trying to get very dived and delved into the story and all that stuff. And I just right now don't see, really realistically, the only story that they're trying to progress fully is this whole thing with the Vision. Whether it's connected to LA Knight and Jey Uso, connected to CM Punk, connected to Roman Reigns, that's the story that they're really trying to tell and trying to push. And right now, Monday Night Raw is just in a very, very just same cycle every week. Whoever starts the night on Monday Night Raw, whether it's the Vision, whether it's LA Knight, whether it's Punk, whether it's Jey Uso, and then the main event becomes someone of the Vision versus one of those guys, and then whoever wins, it turns into a goddamn fucking brawl at the end. Everybody joins in, blah 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 blah, and it's the same rinse, wash, and repeat every single week on Monday Night Raw. Shake something up there. The Vision doesn't have to start the show. The Vision doesn't have to end the show. You could do something different. You could do something different with Stephanie Vaquer and Rhea Ripley. Seriously, when was the last time Rhea Ripley fought? When was the last time Rhea had a match? Seriously, all she has been doing is backstage stuff. Rhea should be doing stuff. And if Rhea's like, maybe they're giving Rhea time off from the ring, just having her rest and heal up, which does make sense. But have her do something different. Like, have her get involved in something, because at this point, we really don't know what she's going to be involved in, whether it's this whole thing with Io and the Kabuki Warriors, mainly Asuka, or now she's going to be into a storyline with Stephanie Vaquer going into Crown Jewel in Australia. I don't know what they're going to do there. And basically everything else, right now, Tyler, basically what you said right there, it's too predictable. It is too predictable right now. They're so uber, and I'm not sure if this is, I think it's a combination of both. But I don't know whether more of the blame goes on TKO or it goes on Triple H for the creative direction. Because I'm not sure if TKO is restricting Triple H from doing certain things, or Triple H just doesn't know what he's doing. And like I said, it's probably a mix of both. Because obviously TKO cares about money first and foremost. That's why you see the ticket prices as obnoxious as they are. And you saw that quote from them, not that long ago, when they were talking about Vince. Like, they basically threw shade at Vince McMahon for prioritizing ticket prices towards families and all that stuff, instead of raising ticket prices and getting more bang for your buck, which is full-on corporate greed right there. That is a terrible look for TKO. And granted, they don't care. All they care about is money, and people are going to spend on WWE because it's still a very hot commodity. Regardless, they care. At this point, it's TKO. They care about the casual people that have the money. Casual people that are going to come and have money. That's what they care about. They don't care about the diehard fans. And I'm not considering myself a diehard fan. That's for people who have watched for years and years and years and years and years. I'm just like getting started into this thing. But even I feel fucking not even betrayed. Like, Jesus, like, what the fuck is this? And just the creative direction for Raw, too predictable, too samey, and SmackDown, they just don't know what they want to do there. Like, the last good episode of SmackDown was John Cena's last appearance on SmackDown, and also when AJ Lee returned and all that stuff. That was fun. That was John Cena's last episode of SmackDown. Those were the same show. Those were the exact same show. And then all in between that, just not good. Just not good. It's just, And it's funny because of how high on a pedestal WWE was before going into WrestleMania 40. How high that was. And granted, WWE goes through their highs and lows throughout the years. They definitely, like, they have their peaks and they have their valleys. Like, this is not a common, like, this is a very common thing with WWE. They have their very high moments, which was obviously going into WrestleMania 40 with the Bloodline, Cody Rhodes, The Rock, and all that stuff. Like, that was a very high point right there with WWE. And they continued it a little bit, and then they started going down. Like, I wouldn't say fully downhill a little bit, but I think the true downhill spiral started right around WrestleMania 41 in Vegas. That's when it really started to get like, it's not the best, but it's like you could sense there's like something not right here, if that makes sense. And granted, I think there will eventually be a case where they go back onto a high rise. They need to fucking figure it out, because this start on Wrestlepalooza it's just more of the same right now. All they care about right now too much, and I think they care too much about the pop and too much about the surprise. We really don't see like a fully fleshed, like I said, the only fully storyline that they look like they're fully committed to right now, and granted they're not doing a great job of it, is the Vision, is that whole faction with Seth and all that stuff, with Roman, with Punk, with Knight, with Jey Uso. That's the only thing that they look like they're trying to do on a consistent basis. Cody, maybe right now they're building with Cody, Drew. Like, I do hope this Cody Drew feud goes on for a little bit. Like the trio of Cody, Drew, and Randy. I hope that continues, because that is something that can be compelling. And that's why I kind of wanted Randy to come out tonight and turn heel, because that just gives another threat to Cody on his title. Now you have Drew, and now you have Randy. And granted, I do think we're going to get another Drew versus Cody at some point for the title. I just don't know when that's going to be. But is it going to be babyface Randy and babyface Cody? That's just, I don't know where they're going on that front. And now you have Dominic, and granted, we're going on a different route right here. But now you have Dominic Mysterio that has the AAA Mega title and the Intercontinental Championship. How are you going to work that out? What are you going to do with that? Because it feels like right now with AAA, they're going to try to find a way to build that up to where it's Ray versus Dom for the title. But how are they going to work with the Intercontinental title? Is Dominic just going to keep holding it? Is he just going to keep going after AJ Styles? Which, that has been a fun feud, don't get me wrong. AJ versus Dominic has been a very fun feud, even though they should have pulled the fucking trigger at Clash of Paris when AJ got that huge pop. It's just, I don't know. Yeah, Frank, I think that's where, like, they're doing stuff right now that's just leading to nowhere. The only thing that they're trying to build fully right now is the Vision. That is the only thing that looks like they're trying to build something up. Because whether that's going to lead to Punk versus Seth at WrestleMania for the world title, or Seth versus Roman for the world title at WrestleMania, that's looked like what we're trying to build up to. Which I don't know what they're going to do, in my personal opinion. That's that part. I just don't know what they're going to do. Like, is Roman going to go after another title? I don't know, because it does look like also in the future they want Roman versus Braun Breaker, which would be a very fun match. Is that what they're going to save for WrestleMania? And they're going to have Punk versus Seth at WrestleMania, and that's when Punk finally gets over on Seth and finally gets a title? Like, to fully have a title and not have it last like 2 seconds, where someone's cashing in on him. What else could there possibly be? I don't know. I don't know. Like I said, don't get me wrong. The PLE wasn't terrible. It wasn't terrible. It was fine. But it's when you're talking about the price raise into ESPN, and when you're looking at the matches that you have in front of you, I would say only one of the matches tonight was PLE worthy, and that was Io versus Stephanie Vaquer. That was a PLE worthy match. That match was very good. That match was fun. That match was entertaining. That was the best match of the entire night. That stole the night. Drew versus Cody, fine main event. It's not a main event of a PLE. It's a main event of a regular night of SmackDown. That's what it is. It's a main event of a regular night of SmackDown or Raw. That's what it is. Becky Lynch, the intergender tag team match, that was fun. Could that be on a PLE? Yeah, that could be on a PLE. Like, that was fun. That was fun. I have no issues with that match. Obviously, we all have issues with Brock and Cena's match because that was barely even a match. That thing lasted like 5 seconds because, okay, Cena, there was a few suplexes. Cena got a couple of AAs in there, and then you have Brock hitting 50 F5s. Even one on the ref. There was no build-up to that at all. It's Brock comes out at SummerSlam, F5's John Cena. Then Cena talks about Brock for, well, granted, no, it wasn't Cena talking about Brock for a little bit. He went up against Logan Paul at Clash in Paris, which that match was good. That was well built up for a little bit. Granted, on the very minimal time that they had. Like, that match was very good. And then Cena's barely on television because he has very few appearances left. Brock's a part-timer, which you got to work on Brock's schedule because it's Brock. They barely have interactions with each other. The only interaction they have is, once again, fucking Brock F5ing him during the U.S. title open match with Sami Zayn. Brock F5s Corey Graves twice. F5s R-Truth. And then you come to the night, Brock just does the same. Just completely demolishes him. Why would you do that to Cena when he has now 3 nights left? 3 appearances left. And somewhere deep in my mind, and granted this is coping a little bit, why do I just have this slight feeling that Cena's not actually going to retire on December? They're going to carry it out till WrestleMania. That's something that I do have deep in my mind that they might do. I don't think it's going to happen. It's just something that's reeling in the back of my mind. Because I can 100% see them doing that. Not that I think it's going to happen. I think he's actually going to retire in December. But I could 100% see them talking behind the scenes, even seeing and all that stuff, saying like, hey, okay. And granted, they ruined a lot of it with his heel turn, with his heel run, because that was poorly handled and all that crap. It was just not good. Like, there was no point of like, John Cena turning heel was fun in the moment. Execution was fucking terrible because of The Rock. Because The Rock not being involved in all that stuff, they tried to save face, and it was just bad. It was very bad. But how are you going to waste one of Cena's final appearances with tonight? With the way that Brock basically squashed him. And this better not be Cena versus Brock the rest of the way. Because there's so much more that you could do. We're talking about basically Cena in his final appearances. Cody Rhodes at SummerSlam, which was a very fun match. Who did he fight after that? Was it No, it was Brock that came out after SummerSlam. Then John Cena fought Logan Paul. Granted, it was a fun match. Granted, you still don't want Logan Paul to be one of John Cena's final matches. And then a match against Sami Zayn, which was unexpected, which was a very fun match, until Brock came in and ruined it, obviously. And then tonight, this better not be fucking John Cena versus Brock the rest of the way until John Cena finally gets the win versus Brock. Like, that's not a way to close out a retirement tour. That just isn't. And I don't know if that's a Triple H thing. I don't know if that's a TKO thing. It's probably a mix of both. It is probably a mix of both. And the fact that, and what also puts that into the back of my mind, which originally his retirement night was supposed to be in Boston, and then they switched it last second because Washington, D.C. paid more in the bid for that Saturday night's main event, makes me believe in the back of my mind that's not his final night. Granted, I still don't think that's the case, but I can 100% see that being the case. If that makes sense. I don't think it's going to be the case, but I can really see them doing that. Whether it's somehow they force Cena to stay out until WrestleMania, or stay in until WrestleMania, and WrestleMania is when he finally retires, or he actually just does retire on Saturday night's main event, and it's very lackluster because it's fucking against Brock Lesnar again. And it's not in his hometown because Monday Night Raw, the Raw that he appeared on, wasn't that Monday Night Raw in Boston? Like, TKO, man. TKO. WWE is in a very weird spot. Now, granted, I still watch every week. I still try to tune in every week when I can. And it's definitely been more difficult to watch every week just because every week Phillies. I think once we get into the fall and once we get into the winter, it will be easier to watch Monday Night Raw, Friday Night SmackDown on a weekly basis. Um, they got to figure it out. They got to figure it out. They got to change things up. They really do. I think a draft was really needed. For some reason, they just don't want to do a draft. I have no idea why. Because it could really help with SmackDown. It just can. Sami Zayn's, open U.S. title, thing that John Cena used to do. Like, yeah, that's good for SmackDown. That could bring some entertaining matches. Sami Zayn has had a couple of entertaining matches since the John Cena one, with the recent one with Carmelo Hayes. That one was very entertaining. I don't know who Sami's going to lose it to, because are they going to do this thing where Sami eventually gets brought up into the title scene? And, oh god, I just brought this into the back of my mind because the Royal Rumble's in Saudi Arabia, and Sami's very huge in Saudi. Sami's probably going to win the Rumble, and maybe he challenges Cody for the Undisputed title. I could definitely see that. I could 100% see that happening. And that even leads to fucking with the whole thing with WrestleMania 43, and that was going to happen eventually. That was just going to happen eventually. I'm not shocked. And Vince would have done it too. Vince 100% would have done it too. I'm not shocked that they were going to bring it to Saudi Arabia. It kind of sucks because other places like France, London, the European countries, they definitely deserve to have an event like WrestleMania happen there. Because that would be, like, imagine the pop at a WrestleMania in England, at a WrestleMania in France, and a WrestleMania in Ireland or something like that. That would be fucking fantastic. The crowd would be fucking amazing in those European countries. It would. Not trying to knock the Saudi audience and all that stuff, because they definitely bring good pops too. But it's just like the whole thing with, WWE, and so it's very controversial. It's very controversial and all that stuff. But just overall, they're in a very, very blessed spot. They also just completely abandoned New Orleans when they were saying that, oh, you have The Rock come out. The Rock announces that WrestleMania 42 is going to be in New Orleans in the Superdome and all that crap, and then you just completely wash that away because now you're doing it again in Vegas, and then you're going to have WrestleMania 43 in fucking Saudi. What is that? What is that? That's more of a TKO thing. Because if TKO wasn't running things and WWE probably had more decision makings in where they wanted to have these places at, they probably would not have gone back to Vegas again. They would have kept WrestleMania 42 in New Orleans, and they probably wouldn't have gone to Saudi yet for WrestleMania. Maybe they still would have, but they wouldn't have done the bait and switch with switching up WrestleMania 42 to go back to Vegas. Like, that's bullshit. That's bullshit. Now I got the sneeze bug. That's probably a good, perfect time to come to a close almost here, as it is also getting very warm in here as the more I keep talking. But they're in a very weird spot with this entire situation. It's just absolutely, absolutely annoying, I guess you could say. They're in a very weird spot. Like I said, Wrestlepalooza was not bad. It's just, it could have been better. And why did I expect it to be better? Because WWE has been like this for a little bit right now. Do I think they'll get better? Yes, because that is the natural ebb and flow of WWE. They have their high and their low moments, but they're in a very low right now, and fans are not happy. Fans are not happy, and you really got to start making people happy, especially now that a lot of people are now paying the $30 for ESPN in the U.S. Like, you really got to fucking come on here. You got to fucking figure it out. Which, right now, I don't think they're in a position to do that. Unless something just miraculously happens and they get better at storytelling. Because, like I said, the only story that they're really focusing on right now that just feels like the only one they care about is the Vision. That is the only story that they care about right now. So, we'll see. But, tonight was weird. Tonight was weird. It was very weird. I still try to get myself entertained. Like I said, there were still very entertaining moments. Stephanie Io stole the show 100%, but on everything else, it wasn't PLE worthy. It wasn't PLE worthy. None of those matches were. Well, I'll say two of them were. Not the other three. Not the other three. So, I think that those are my thoughts. Those are my thoughts for tonight. I did think, I appreciated the people that were here in the chat. Obviously, we got a couple of people in here. Obviously, Franco. We had Michael in the chat earlier. BJ was here. Tia, which is someone I don't recognize. I appreciate you joining here during the chat and leaving some comments and chats right here. So hopefully when we do talk about more wrestling in the future, you'll pop up once again. But yeah, get to some of you comments right here. Michael did bring up Phillies and all that stuff, but I did peek into the Phillies a little bit. Like I said, these last so many games just don't matter to me. They'll eventually get the bye. Their magic number is 3 right now. Barring a miraculous collapse, they're going to get the bye week at some point because they play the Marlins and they play the Minnesota upcoming. And granted, I understand the Dodgers aren't losing games right now against the Giants, which kind of does suck. I think that they actually just took the lead against the Giants. Yeah, they're winning 7-5, even though the Giants do have 2 runners on. So we'll see where that ends. It's funny seeing the Mets lose to Washington. So that wild card race gets even closer as the Reds are winning more games because they've won 4 in a row, and I believe they're only like 1 game behind the Mets right now in the wild card. So that's going to be very interesting. And the Reds do have the tiebreaker, so that'll be very funny if that's the case. The Detroit Tigers are blowing the fucking division lead as Cleveland's getting closer. So yeah, there's interesting stuff going on around baseball right now. But right now it's just like these games kind of really don't matter to me. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? The luck at the bye week and all that crap. And we'll see where we move on. Yeah, PLA wasn't garbage. Not worth $30. Exactly. Brand split doesn't work no more. Brock Lesnar gave me 2014 vibes from that match. Yeah, it's just like it was dominant Brock. That's basically what it was, making Cena look weak, which I don't like. Thank you for your review. I've been subbed for a while for your Philly sports content. You are doing a great job. I haven't been watching WWE except YouTube content creators giving reviews. Well, I appreciate you joining here for a little bit, Tia. I appreciate you joining here for a little bit. Does it make sense how Cena kicked out of the 5 crossroads, but can't kick out of like 5 F5s? Yeah, that's definitely interesting if you think about that. They had kids crying because of this. Stopped watching WWE around 2014. I tried, but couldn't get back into it ever since. It's too boring and predictable. I feel that. I definitely do feel that. I started with the E with WrestleMania in Philadelphia, but by the beginning of this year, I was over with WWE. I'm watching other promotions now. I would watch other promotions. AEW doesn't do it for me. The storytelling there isn't good either. And the wrestling's more, not brutal in the sense that it's bad, but it's just, too extreme for my liking. Where they go a little bit too over the top. So, AEW is not my cup of tea either. So, I just stick to WWE. I watched a few AEW pay-per-views, don't get me wrong. But, some of the matches go on too good, but their their pay-per-views also go on very long. There's a limit to how long you could be. WWE doesn't do it perfectly either. But, AEW goes on for, what was it on? When was All In? Was that during SummerSlam, or was I forget? I think that was during one of the nights of SummerSlam. Fucking All In was 6 hours. I was exhausted. I couldn't finish that. Who's watching a pay-per-view for 6 hours? It's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah, stories are half-baked or started and not completed. I just get annoyed when they have the same boring and monotonous matches on Raw and SmackDown that lead nowhere. Oh, you think Dom's going to fight Rusev for the Intercontinental? I think I do remember that happening. Them having an interaction or something like that. When they started talking about their moments, I lowered my expectations, and it made sense because of how the stories are. Sad how NXT has been way better than WWE. I haven't watched NXT, actually, so I probably should. Probably would be more entertained with Joe Hendry. Even though it does sound like Joe Hendry, once his TNA contract ends, is going to get a major push in WWE. They have big plans for him, which probably would lead for entertaining television. But that's a wait-and-see process. Die-hard AEW fans. Yeah, I can't sit through a pay-per-view for 6 hours. I can't do that. I physically can't do that. I mean, that's exhausting in itself. WWE pay-per-views, 4 hours tops, maybe. Not even. 3.5 hours is fine. Perfect. I can't do 6 hours. 6 hours is okay, we're taking it a little too far here. A little too far. But, yeah. I thought about doing something different tonight. Granted, tomorrow we'll be back with Eagles, obviously. They play at 1 o'clock. And, recap, obviously, with that game and the Rams. Tomorrow will probably be my last thing on here because I wasn't able to get anything planned or like pre-shoot or pre-scheduled for this week. Maybe I'll post a little bit of shorts and all that stuff this week when I'm on vacation, just to interact with you guys on here, just so I have something on here. I'm not entirely sure how that'll work. But yeah, it will. We have tomorrow, then basically the week off, and when I'm back here on Sunday, most likely recapping next week Eagles Tampa Bay game. Like I said, maybe I'll throw some shorts throughout the week. Maybe I'll react to Phillies games, like results and all that stuff on shorts and all that stuff. So maybe something will pop up there. But wanted to try something different. Most likely, maybe we'll continue this in the future in terms of like off days. Maybe we'll shoot the shit about WWE, and probably we'll have some PLE reviews after this, because obviously the next PLE is October 11th in Australia, Crown Jewel and all that stuff. So maybe we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I think this was a good start. I appreciate the people that did tune into this. If you were new and you tuned in at some point, I recommend you hitting that subscribe button, also dropping a like and leaving a comment as well. It helps so much with the YouTube algorithm, especially since this is the first thing of WWE that I am doing on this channel. It would definitely help to get more people out there. So definitely do all that stuff. You can also use the code TTPSPORTS, $20 off your first purchase at SEATGEEK. It is a great deal. Do not pass it up. Maybe it'll take away the fees if you're trying to buy some tickets to WWE events, to Monday Night Raw or Friday Night SmackDown. They're expensive, but hey, $20 off. Waive the fees at least. It's something. It's something. I'm helping you out there. So, yeah. Appreciate the people that did tune in for this. Definitely a weird night. Weird spot for WWE. We'll see where it goes. We'll see where it goes. I'll definitely try to tune in during vacation because we are driving down to Florida. So I'll try to find a way to watch Monday Night Raw tomorrow in the car. So we'll see. We'll see where they do it. But appreciate you guys for tuning in tonight. We'll be back tomorrow afternoon after the Eagles. And, yeah, we'll see where we go. But